The best of Money Matters. The Big Story.
Welcome to The Big Story. I'm Nadiah Koh. Over the weekend, we've seen significant movements as political parties gear up for the 2025 general election. With nomination day just around the corner on April 23rd, parties are stepping up their campaigns, unveiling new candidates and strategizing for key battlegrounds. The Workers' Party introduced its final slate of new faces, including a mix of professionals from different fields, while the PAP continues to fine-tune its lineup, with both experienced ministers and fresh candidates making their mark. Meanwhile, smaller parties like the SDA have reaffirmed their intentions to contest key constituencies like Pasir Ris Changi, even in the face of political three-cornered fights. With these fresh moves, can we expect a highly competitive race across the board? And to discuss these developments, we're joined by Dr. Mustafa Izzuddin, Senior International Affairs Analyst at Solaris Strategies Singapore. Hi, Dr. Izzuddin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Over the weekend, we've seen a flurry of movements from the parties leading up to nomination day. Starting off with the PAP, we're seeing a mix of experienced ministers like Gan Xiao Huang defending their seats and newer faces being introduced, particularly in West Coast-Jurong West, where Desmond Lee is now the anchor minister after former Transport Minister S. Iswaran's resignation. What does this tell us about the PAP's internal renewal process? Is it more of a refresh or a reset?
Seems more like a refresh rather than a reset, because it does have a combination of those with rich political experience and those that are coming in that can provide fresh ideas that are more attuned to a newer generation of voters. So certainly with the lineup of candidates that have been unveiled thus far, it does show refresh rather than a reset.
I see. Minister Lee has said that he's focused on commitments to residents and practical issues like jobs, infrastructure, and cost of living. But will that focus be enough in a GRC that saw one of the closest fights in 2020?
I think the focus is important because you want to show the highlights of what, as a lineup in that particular constituency, you are planning to do. So it is important to have certain highlights, but of course you will want to have a much broader discussion of issues that are personal to the voter and also perhaps issues that are more national in orientation. So certainly there'll be a wide array of issues, but it's always good to be focused and highlight a few key issues which the team in West Coast may feel that one is of great interest and importance to the residents and also for Singapore more generally.
Right. So can we expect voters for that particular GRC expecting more than just local solutions, maybe something broader in vision?
Absolutely. I think we have a more sophisticated electorate across Singapore. There are segments of the electorate that will continue to be keen on issues that are personal to them, whether it's cost of living, bread and butter issues, municipal issues. I think those issues are continue to be on the minds of voters. But I think that would also need to be widened, where there are voters that would also be looking at what is a broader vision for Singapore. Where is Singapore heading? What's our national conversation like? How we're going to navigate in the international scene where there is turbulence after turbulence. So I think all those will be in the minds of voters when they cast their ballot. So certainly there's not going to be one particular issue that defines how they vote. It may well be a combination of issues.
Okay. On the other side, the PSP is clearly putting its best foot forward in the same GRC, fielding Dr. Tan Cheng Bock, Leong Man Wai and Hazel Phua, the party's top brass. Do you think this is a high-risk, high-reward move from PSP? And if it doesn't pay off, what does that mean for the party's future leadership?
Yeah, it certainly shows that PSP is going for broke. They're putting their A team forward. They are keeping it as stable as it was, same team to the 2020 GE. And I think that shows that the PSP is focused very much on the GRC that they performed well in 2020 GE. So they are hoping to go one step further and be able to win the West Coast GRC. It will still be a tough ask. I think it will be keenly contested. It could go either way. I think it will continue to be close. But the fact that PSP is putting their A team forward suggests that they are going for broke. And I think they believe that there is a chance for them to win it.
Meanwhile, the Workers' Party has also been active over the weekend. It introduced its final batch of new candidates, bringing the total number of Workers' Party's first-time candidates to 14. Among them is Jackson Au, a media-savvy youth wing leader and former aide to Leon Pereira, Parameswari, a former US Navy administrator focused on second chances as well as student well-being, and Michael Thng, a Harvard-trained COO who's worked closely with Sengkang MP Thng. Looking at their final lineup, it shows a clear push for diversity, depth and policy chops heading into GE 2025. With a mix of young professionals and experienced candidates, does this slate feel like a deliberate move by Workers' Party to balance fresh perspectives with established credibility?
Yes, certainly. It does point to that direction that GWP is heading. And in fact, it is a continuation of a trend from 2020 GE. And I think their recruitment policy has become even more effective after they had won more seats in Parliament. So I think the performance of the Workers' Party in Parliament has resulted in them having a more effective recruitment policy, which means they're able to attract candidates that have diversity and are very much attuned with policy matters. And also, of course, you're looking at the slate of candidates that also are a range of ages as well, including the much younger crop. So I think WP is looking, of course, for the 2025 GE, but they're also looking ahead for the longer term so that they're able to make further inroads, if not in 2025, but certainly in subsequent elections.
I see. Their stronghold in Aljunied and Sengkang also remains solid, but with East Coast GRC being the toss-up the last round and Dr. Edwin Tong acknowledging every vote is vital, do you think East Coast is shaping up to be the next big battleground?
Yes, absolutely. I think Aljunied and Sengkang will continue to be battlegrounds as well. The Sengkang in particular, which was close in 2020 GE, I think we can expect the same to be in 2025. Of course, for WP, in both Aljunied and Sengkang, they are the incumbent, and therefore there is the advantage of being an incumbent. But I think they are prepared, and I think they would accept that there is going to be a close and intense fight in those strongholds as well. As regards East Coast GRC, it is a change team, and we've not seen the confirmed lineup yet, but I think it does seem to be a change team from the East Coast, from the team that was fielded in 2020. So that in itself would mean that there is an unpredictability factor there. And also, of course, in East Coast in 2020, it was keenly contested, and we can expect that to take place this time around as well. So in short, yes, it's going to be a big battleground, and I think all eyes, or domestic eyes, will be on East Coast on how it performs. And I think the residents will have to see at both slate of candidates and make their choice accordingly.
Do you think WP views it as winnable this time around, and what would they need to do differently to tip the scales in their favour?
I think they're going to build on their performance in 2020 GE, strengthen their slate of candidates, understand the demographics in East Coast and what the sentiments are, and try and relate to them. So I think it all depends on the slate of candidates that WP would put forward in East Coast GRC, and whether one particular individual, which is seen to be a star catch, I believe is in Harpreet. So we need to see whether he's going to be fielded in East Coast Marine Parade or perhaps elsewhere. So if they put a strong team in East Coast, which I suspect WP may do, then certainly we are in for a very close contest in East Coast GRC.
Smaller parties like the SDA have reaffirmed their intent to contest Pasir Ris Changi, even if it means another three-cornered fight, still and a disadvantage to the opposition the way they used to, or are voters more nuanced now in how they split their support?
I think it's a combination of both, but it does disadvantage the opposition because it may also result in one of the opposition losing their deposit, because that's a possibility. And also sometimes when you have a multi-cornered fight, the voters may want to go with a party that they're more familiar with and therefore may stick with the incumbent. So that's why there is a disadvantage if there is a multi-cornered fight, and that would favor the incumbent. But of course, voters are a lot more nuanced. They do look at a whole range of issues, and then of course they will then cast their ballot accordingly. But certainly multi-cornered fights is not in the interest of the opposition, it does certainly favors the incumbent in any of the constituencies in Singapore.
Okay. Over in Sengkang GRC, we're set for high-stakes rematch. The Workers' Party, which clinched the GRC with over 52% of the votes in 2020, will fill the same slate of MPs minus one change. Meanwhile, the PAP is coming in with a fresh team led by Dr. Lam Pin Min, the only returning candidate from their previous lineup. What kind of tone do you expect this rematch to take on? Will it be a referendum on the WP's performance or more about the PAP team bringing to the table?
I think it's a combination of both. I think it will certainly be a referendum on WP's performance, both on the ground in Sengkang, on how they have taken care of Sengkang residents and also how they have performed in Parliament. So I think that's how the voters may well think and take that into account before casting their ballot. But they will also be looking at what the PAP team can offer. And I think what will matter in Sengkang will certainly be the swing voters, where if from the 52% that Workers' Party had clinched, if it swings away from them, then there's a chance that PAP could win Sengkang. But if it remains the same, or that the Workers' Party is able to build on the 52%, and that the swing is in favor of the Workers' Party, in a sense it doesn't swing towards the PAP, then the WP will be able to retain Sengkang. But as the incumbent, they certainly have the advantage.
Right. And Dr. Izzuddin, before we let you go, what else caught your eye over the weekend in the lead up to nomination day? And also, what will you be keeping an eye on with regard to nomination day?
I think over the weekend, we have seen more candidates being unveiled across political parties. We have also seen manifestos being unveiled and also being conveyed to all of us, and particularly details that each of the manifestos actually entails. And also, of course, we are looking at what candidates are going to be filtered and also candidates that are not going to be filtered, with some of them, of course, retiring as well. So there's a lot that's all happened over the weekend, and I think we can expect a lot more in the lead up to nomination day, and perhaps even on nomination day itself. So I think we should brace ourselves for a lot more twists and turns.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Izzuddin, for your insights today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you. That was Dr. Mustafa Izzuddin, Senior International Affairs Analyst at Solaris Strategies Singapore. This has been The Big Story with me, Nadiah Koh.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.